Here are some questions you're going to want to think about when it comes to your digital space or your Google Classroom. So, just kind of think about how do you want your digital space to be organized? Do you want it to be organized by date or by topic or by unit? It's really important to kind of start thinking about that so you can organize that space. How are your students going to communicate? Is it going to be turned on, turned off? Are there going to be norms or expectations for how they communicate, what they can post? I've seen teachers not do a kind of expectation over this, and students will just say, "Hi, how are you?" over and over again in the Google Classroom. So, again, how do you want them to post? Do they post questions? Do they not post questions? Do they email you questions? Think about all of that kind of stuff. Think about what you're going to post in this digital space. Are you going to post an agenda? Are you going to post like a hyperdoc? What are you kind of thinking when it comes to posting? How are your students going to share in Google Classroom? Are they going to attach assignments? Are you going to force a copy? What kind of ways are you going to allow them to do this? Do they need to turn on that turn in button or do they not? So, again, think about some of those questions while you're building this Google Classroom SOP. So, the first thing is that organization. I like to create like a screencast video that gives a tour of my Google Classroom, and then I like to send that home to parents and the students, and they watch it. Um, that way, they kind of understand the flow and the organization for it. I also like to create a Google Calendar and use the calendar that Google Classroom creates with my parents, and I'll send them the link. That way, they can see the due dates that are due and when things are kind of due for my students. Also, I can teach students how to use their calendar to help them manage time as well. Right here on this resource, this helps you kind of organize and think about Google Classroom as well, along with some other Google applications. But down here on slide 25, you can see Google Classroom. So I would suggest adding a resource topic, also numbering your different assignments, going in and scheduling a post, maybe going in and creating a copy of your course so that way you always have like a template, putting a screencastify video in there to help students with those different directions. You can personalize your messages, maybe using the Classroom app to help you as well. Maybe you want to use emojis to help organize and create those visuals, organizing the stream. And then this one is end of year. You probably don't need that just yet. So, again, up to about tip number 9. And this just talks about how are you going to organize it by unit, by type of work, by weeks, or by subject. This one then is kind of for the students. What should the students post on Google Classroom? Do you want that stream turned on or do you want to turn it off? Over here is a version for students, and feel free to share this resource with students. There's also a video that goes along with it as well if you are interested. But down here, it talks about Google Classroom for students. They can reorder their classes to help them if they go to certain periods in order. It might help them organize their Google Classroom. Creating to-do lists. So using different to-do lists can help them so that way they know, okay, this is due, I haven't turned it in yet. The type of activities can help them know, okay, this is a question type of activity, this is an assignment. And then talking about email and having them email the teacher if they have questions. So again, deciding how you want students to ask questions. Can they comment in that digital space or can they not? Also, because we're kind of talking about digital resources, an email template might be helpful for students as well when asking for help. So, this one just kind of walks them through how to write an email. So, you can kind of see this resource and use it with your students to help them write a stronger and better email for you to better understand and help them. This is an example. So, rather than kind of just teaching the kids, they kind of explore on their own. And this one is just a challenge. So, you could have the students kind of do this challenge and they have to engage, explain, and explore these different activities and earn those badges to show that they understand how your Google Classroom is set up. You could also do a community project where the students create their own Google Classroom header. So again, students could create this header and you could use it in your classroom. So think about how are you going to organize and communicate this digital space with students.